No doubt over the last several months, you've seen these outrageous protests at art galleries in Europe. Remember, these are climate change protesters who are attempting to make news by destroying great works of art from Western civilization. Here's one example.
Hallo. Wo wollen Sie kommen?
Menschen hungern, Menschen frieren, Menschen sterben. Wir sind in einer Klimakatastrophe. Und alles, wovor ihr Angst habt, sind Tomatensuppe oder Kartoffelbrei in einem Gemälde. Wisst ihr, wovor...
There you go. By the way, does anyone believe that glue actually works when they try to glue themselves to the wall? I mean, nothing dries that fast. And then there's this one. This one was a Van Gogh's masterpiece, Sunflowers. This one was in England.
Security.
There we go. Again with the glue. There's always purple hair involved in these things too, aren't they? By the way, don't worry. There's glass sheets in front of these works of art, so nothing's actually happening to the masterpiece. Here's another one. This one, I believe, happened in Washington, D.C.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so those two are protesting climate change. That should be protesting that their Social Security checks were late this month. Yeah, that was at the National Gallery in Washington, D.C., and they're defacing the case around Degas' masterpiece, the young ballerina. And again, it's all about climate change. It's about fossil fuels, so we have to destroy great works of art. Well, here's the interesting thing about this story. Journalists in this town, they've been just sort of reporting on it, saying that it happened, but not doing any actual, what's the word I'm looking for? Journalism. Gabe Kaminsky over at Washington Examiner, he did do some journalism. He's an investigative reporter and he joins us now. And you did the good old fashioned kind of journalism, Gabe. You followed the money. Who are these groups and how are they financed? And what did you find?
What our story details is how an entity called Climate Emergency Fund, a 501c3 charity based in Beverly Hills, this entity is actually bankrolling a number of these international groups that are engaged in some of those climate protests that you just put on the screen there, and most notably, Climate Emergency Fund is itself bankrolled by several high-profile individuals, including Jeremy Strong, who plays Kendall in HBO's Succession, Chelsea Handler, the comedian, Thomas Middleditch from Silicon Valley. And it's also funded to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars by major foundations, left-leaning foundations, including one called Onward Together, which was founded by Hillary Clinton in 2017. And the real question that I'm wondering, and I really try to reach out to the celebrities with regard to this, is whether as artists they support the destruction of art. I didn't hear back from any of them.
Yeah, no doubt you didn't. Listen, there's so much irony wrapped up here. Did I also read right that the Getty Foundation is funding this as well?
That's right. Aileen Getty, the heiress of the Getty family fortune earned in the petroleum industry, she actually is a major funder of the Climate Emergency Fund. In fact, she told the New York Times last year that she's given them at least $1 million.
So, Gabe, I mean, anyone in America who even recognizes the name Getty, it's going to mean one of two things. It's going to mean Getty Oil, petroleum industry that these climate activists apparently think is the greatest evil incarnate on this planet. Or number two, the Getty Museum, which is a beautiful museum in Los Angeles that has a giant, priceless collection of works of art that the Getty family used their oil money to procure. I mean, the irony here is delicious. If the Getty Foundation is so interested in destroying art, why don't they just burn down their own museum?
Look, I think the really problematic thing is the protest that you just showed. It really goes even far. It's across the world. It's been ramping up recently. For instance, some of these climate protesters, a French group, an activist for that organization, tied herself to the net at the French Open. That same organization receives grants from Climate Emergency Fund. There's another entity called Sunrise Movement that seemingly they went outside of Senator Joe Manchin's yacht and blocked him from leaving a private garage to protest, to pressure him with regard to the Inflation Reduction Act,
Oh, yeah.
President Joe Biden's climate and energy package. So these groups are engaged in some pretty unorthodox and extremist protests. It's not just your typical, left-leaning activist groups. These are pretty extremist organizations.
I don't know. The woman who tied herself to the net at the French Open, I mean, most of these tennis players, they can serve that ball upwards to about 150, 180 miles an hour. I'm just thinking one serve and you solve the problem, right? I mean, it amazes me that all of these art lovers are standing in a museum watching this happen and not one of them thinks, hey, let's tackle this person as they're defacing the art.
Yeah, well, in terms of the French Open situation, security came and actually carried that activist off. And so, similarly, I would note there, Just Stop Oil, the group that splattered that tomato soup on that $84 million estimated Van Gogh painting, they've been protesting for days in the UK, blocking streets. Similar, another group that Just Stop Oil is an offshoot of Extinction Rebellion, which Greta Thunberg, the notable climate activist who's younger, who's I guess 20 years old now. She with regard to that organization, they've staged protests in the UK that have resulted in more than upwards of 1,000 arrests, 10,000 police officers being deployed. I mean, it's a huge public safety and arguable national security issue. What's going on here?
Absolutely. They shut down traffic on the George Washington Parkway just outside Langley, the CIA headquarters. This is a national security issue, and this is eco-terrorism at its finest. Gabe Kaminsky, your article also pointed out one other name, a huge funder of these groups that is defacing and destroying great works of art. His name's Adam McKay. Now, he is a writer and director most famous for all of the Will Ferrell comedies that we've known and loved over the last decade or so. This is a film director. He's an artist. He's a creator, and he's funding the destruction of art in the name of this climate change politics. I mean, does he have any kind of recognition of the hypocrisy involved here?
Right. Adam McKay has said he pledged $4 million to the
$4
Climate Emergency
million.
Fund. $4 million. And I'd also note that Adam McKay, notably, he in 2021 sort of directed that climate allegory film, Don't Look Up. But yeah, Adam McKay, he's behind The Big Short, a lot of major pictures. And according to Bloomberg, Adam McKay, not too long ago, they hosted some sort of auction to fundraise for Climate Emergency Fund. I forget where that location was in California. All that is to say, Adam McKay, Jeremy Strong, all these other celebrities, I mean, they really should have to answer, and any funders behind any entity involved in destroying major art, blocking roads, they glue themselves to Ferraris. I mean, this stuff is nuts.
Yeah. Hey, Gabe, real fast. I don't want to give anybody your secret sauce or anything, but it is remarkable that you came up with the idea of just following the money on these protests and finding out where it comes from. Was it that hard to research?
It's this information is in tax forms, and it is also available on Climate Emergency Fund's website. So a little digging. I know a lot of the outlets that have covered some of these celebrity ties. A lot of it, it kind of reads like a profile. But I think that there's certainly, we quoted a lot of people who really scrutinize this stuff, because I think they take issue with the fact that not only this green energy agenda, but the fact that this agenda is sort of culminating in the destruction of public property.
Yeah. Other journalists seem to not really try to dig too deep on it. I'm glad you did. Gabe Kaminsky, once again, great investigative work here. There's more to come on O'Connor tonight. Keep it here, Salem News Channel.